In NASCAR's 75-year history, there have been many numbers come and go. On any given weekend, you will see 36 to 40 unique numbers on the track, and each of those numbers has a story to tell. Hi, I'm your host Matt, and this is NASCAR Number History presented by Dogleg Media. In this series, we look to tell the stories of each of those numbers, who won with the number first, who found victory lane the most, and every other driver to grab a trophy in the number. We go in chronological order, and today we explore numbers 27 through 29. If you missed numbers 1 through 26, the Number History playlist will be linked below. But with that out of the way, let's dive into some more NASCAR Number History. Let's start things off with number 27. The 27 has 52 total wins with 9 different drivers. It's competed in 1,168 races and has a 4.4 winning percentage. The first to win was Jimmy Florian in 1950 at Dayton. Florian would run 26 total races in NASCAR, with his only win coming in the self-owned 27 machine. The most wins would belong to a legend, Rusty Wallace. Wallace would pilot the 27 machine for Big Max Racing from 1986 to 1990. In this time, Wallace would win 18 total races, including the 1990 Coca-Cola 600. Wallace would also claim his only Cup Series championship in the number, winning the title in 1989 thanks to a 6-win season. Many remember Wallace for his dominance in the 2-car, but before that era, he would tear it up driving the number 27. Rusty is a NASCAR Hall of Famer and was inducted into the Hall in 2013. Now let's look at some other winners to win in the 27 car. Starting off with another legend, Junior Johnson. Johnson would spend time in the 27 for a few different organizations over his career. His first stint would be in 1960 with John Massoni, where he would get the biggest win of his career as a driver, winning the Daytona 500 in the 27. He would win 3 times for Massoni in the 27. He would then drive for Rex Lovett in 1961, winning 7 times that season in the number. He would return to the 27 in 1964 for Matthews Racing, where he would win twice. Johnson would then bring the 27 into his own race team, and would win one final time in the number in 1965. Johnson is a Hall of Famer and certainly a pioneer of our sport. And then there's Donnie Allison. Allison would win 5 times for Matthews Racing from 1968 to 1970, including the 1970 World 600. Allison is another member of the Alabama gang, being the brother of Bobby Allison, a name that we mention all too much here. While Donnie didn't find as much success as his brother, it's still incredible that the Allison family was as good as they were at racing. And then we move on to Benny Parsons. Parsons is yet another Hall of Famer to pilot the 27. Benny would man the helm of the 27 for MC Anderson Racing for 2 seasons, 1979 and 1980. He would win 5 races in this time, including the World 600 in 1980. Parsons would be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2017. And the Hall of Famers keep coming for this one, because Cale Yarborough would also pilot the number. Yarborough would win 5 times in the 27, and he would take over the MC Anderson Racing ride for Benny Parsons, piloting it for 2 seasons as well, in 1981 and 1982. Cale would win the 1982 Southern 500 in the number. Yarborough was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2012. And then a name that we mentioned last video, Tim Richmond. Richmond would drive the 27 for Blue Max Racing from 1983 to 1985, collecting 2 total wins in the number. And then of course there's Jimmy Spencer. The Berwick, PA native would claim both of his Cup Series wins in the 27, driving for Junior Johnson and Associates. Both wins would come in 1994, one at Daytona and the other at Talladega. And then we get to the driver who collected the very last win for the 27 so far, Paul Menard. Menard would drive the 27 for Richard Childress Racing from 2011 to 2017. He would claim his only Cup Series victory in the number in a crown jewel event in his first season with the number, the 2011 Brickyard 400. And now we get to the current driver. There isn't a current driver of the 27, and this will be the first installment of the series where none of the mentioned numbers will have a full-time driver currently. The last time the number was ran was in 2022 with Team Heseberg. In recent memory, the 27 has been all Paul Menard. What team will change this and get a dedicated full-time driver to pilot the 27 next? Now let's move on to the 28. The 28 has some incredible history behind it. Tragedy and triumph are a part of this number's story, and 6 different Hall of Famers have won in this number. The 28 has 76 total wins with 9 different drivers. It's competed in 1,037 total races with a 7.3 win percentage. The first to win was Fred Lorenzen in 1961 at Martinsville. Lorenzen is also the driver with the most wins for the 28, with 25 total wins. Lorenzen would earn all but one of his 26 Cup wins in the 28 for Holman Moody, with his other win being mentioned last video in the 26. Lorenzen would win 3 crown jewels, with 2 World 600 wins coming in 1963 and 1965, and he would also win the 1965 Daytona 500. Lorenzen would be named to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2015. Now let's get to some other winners, starting off with Dan Gurney. Gurney is another driver who would find success in different major motorsports leagues around the world. Gurney would be a 4-time winner in Formula One and a 5-time winner in the Cup Series, with one of those coming in the 28. Fun fact, all 5 of Gurney's Cup Series wins would come at the same track, Riverside. And then there's Buddy Baker. Baker is another Hall of Famer to drive the 28. He would pilot the 28 machine for Ernie Irvan Racing in 1979 and 1980, collecting 5 total wins in the number. No win bigger though than his only Daytona 500 victory, coming in 1980 in the 28 machine. Baker is a 19-time winner in the Cup Series and was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2020. And he's back. Bobby Allison will continue to make appearances in NASCAR number history, and he's made his mark on the 28 machine as well. Allison would drive the 28 for Renier Lundy after Buddy Baker would leave the team. Allison would collect 5 total wins in the number, including the 1981 World 600. Allison is yet another Hall of Famer to win in the 28, being inducted in 2011. And the Hall of Famers keep on coming. And this isn't the last one to drive the 28 either, Cale Yarborough. Cale would drive the 28 for Renier Lundy from 1983 to 1986 after leaving the 27 machine at the end of the 1982 season. He would start his time in the 28 with a bang, winning the 1983 Daytona 500, and it wouldn't be his last Daytona 500 win either with the number, as he would go back-to-back, winning it in 1984 as well. Cale would be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2012. And then there's Davey Allison. And Davey Allison is definitely one of the biggest what-ifs in NASCAR history. Davey is the son of legend Bobby Allison, and was easily one of the hottest up-and-coming drivers in the Cup Series at the time. Davey would have his rookie season in the 28 in 1987 driving for Renier Lundy. He would win 2 races and win that year's Rookie of the Year award. Allison would collect 19 wins in his short Cup Series career that spanned from 1985 to 1993. Davey would win the Daytona 500 in 1992, and would also win the Coca-Cola 600 in 1991. Allison would be another tragic part of the 1993 season story, as he would pass away in a helicopter crash while traveling to Talladega to watch his friend Neil Bonnet and his son David test for David's Xfinity Series debut. Allison's death in his helicopter crash would come 3 months after the 1992 champ and up-and-comer Alan Kulwicki would die in an aviation accident in April. Davey would compete in 191 Cup Series races and would win an astounding 10% of races he entered. His tragic and sudden passing has had fans wondering what if ever since. Allison would be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2019, and there's no doubt that he was on his way to a certain Hall of Fame career. And then we move to Ernie Irvan. Irvan would take over the 28 after Davey Allison's tragic death in 1993, having incredibly big shoes to fill. Ernie would drive the 28 from 1993 to 1997, collecting 8 total wins. Irvan would have one of the greatest moments of triumph and comeback in NASCAR history. During a practice session at Michigan in 1994, Irvan would blow out a tire and hit the concrete barrier at 170 miles per hour. Irvan would be diagnosed with a basilar skull fracture, the same injury that took Dale Earnhardt's life in the 2001 Daytona 500, and doctors gave Irvan a mere 10% chance of surviving the night. Irvan would defy all odds, and just a little over a year since his scary crash and injury, Irvan would compete in a Cup Series race again, making his return at the Fall North Wilkesboro race in 1995, driving the 88 car, as Dale Jarrett had taken the 28 ride in 1995 due to his injury. Irvan would return to the 28 car in 1996 and would find victory lane just 15 races into the season at New Hampshire. Irvan's comeback is one of the greatest in NASCAR history, and it deserves to be celebrated and talked about. And we mentioned this driver before during Ernie Irvan, but Dale Jarrett would also win in the number. Jarrett would spend quite a bit of time at Robert Yates, but he would only spend one season, 1995, in the 28 machine. As we discussed before, Jarrett was driving the 28 in place of the injured Irvan, and in his one season with the number, he would collect one win at Pocono. Add Jarrett's name to the list of Hall of Famers to win in the 28 machine, as he was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2014. And then we move on to Ricky Rudd, who was the last driver to take the 28 to victory lane. Rudd would drive the Yates Racing 28 for 3 seasons, from 2000 to 2002. Rudd would collect 3 total wins in the 28, with his last for the number being the last for Rudd's career in 2002 at Sonoma. And then we get to the current driver, and as we mentioned before, none of the numbers discussed today will have a current full-time driver. And honestly, since Ricky Rudd, there's only been one full-time season for the number, driven by Travis Kvapil in 2008 and then a partial 2009 schedule with Yates Racing. The last time the number was on track was in 2021 with Joey Gase driving for Rick Ware Racing. Gase would only make one start in the number. With this being such an iconic number with many legends winning in it, it is kind of shocking that we don't have a full-time driver for it. I know I would love to see the Texaco 28 car on track every single weekend. When do you think the 28 car will come back? And when do you think we'll see it in victory lane again? And then let's end this video off with the 29. I think we all know who the most iconic to drive this number is. He actually just strapped into this ride one final time. Before we get to him, let's take a look at some of the stats. The 29 has 40 total wins with 3 different drivers. It's competed in 943 races with a 4.2 winning percentage. The first to win would be Nelson Stacy in 1961 at Darlington, which was also that year's Southern 500. Stacy would collect 4 total wins in the 29 car. In addition to his crown jewel win at the Southern 500, he would also win the Coca-Cola 600 in 1962. I'm going to go out of order here. Since our legend was the last driver to win in the number and the last to drive the number, I want to end the 29 discussion off with him. The only other driver to find victory lane in the 29 would be Dick Hutcherson, and he would find victory lane quite often actually. Hutcherson would win 13 total times in the 29. He would win 13 of his 14 total wins in the Cup Series in the number, with his only other win coming in a number that is won in the 2023 season already. Who can tell me which number that is? And here we are. I've already seen some viewers looking forward to this one. It's Kevin Harvick. He's the driver with the most wins, and he's the last driver to pilot the number 29. Kevin Harvick is by far the most synonymous driver when you think of the 29. He is so connected to the 29, in fact, that he would run the number in his very final All-Star race in 2023 at North Wilkesboro. Harvick was thrust into the seat after tragedy, as he would replace Dale Earnhardt after his death in 2001. Harvick was originally supposed to pilot the very next number in this number history series, the 30, before Earnhardt's passing. Harvick would cement himself as a legend early, winning in only his 3rd career start in a photo finish with Jeff Gordon. He would win the Rookie of the Year award in 2001, grabbing 2 wins and finishing 9th in the overall standings. Harvick would pilot the 29 to 23 total wins, with a nice list of crown jewels as well, winning the 2007 Daytona 500, the 2003 Brickyard 400, and he would win 2 Coca-Cola 600s, including in 2013, his last season with the number. With Kevin Harvick hanging it up after the 2023 season, we are lucky that he will be joining the Fox broadcast team. We all know that they could use the help. Harvick will definitely be a Hall of Famer, and he has certainly made a big impression on our sport. And that'll do it for numbers 27 through 29. To be honest, the biggest shock to me for this one was just how many wins the 27 has. Growing up for me, that number was mostly ran by Paul Menard. I didn't get to see the Rusty Wallace era with the number. As always, I'm prone to forgetting drivers. Let me know which drivers of any of these numbers I may have missed for this one. Last time out, I forgot Joe Nemechek's 2003 win in the 25, supposedly my favorite number. Sorry about that, Joe. If you haven't seen numbers 1 through 26, the number history playlist will be linked below. Be sure to check them out. We will be back next week with what I think will be every single number in the 30s. There are only 51 total wins between 30 and 39, so we may just knock them out in one go. If you like the video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. It helps a ton and I definitely appreciate it. But that'll do it for us here at Dogleg Media. I'm Matt, your host, and you've been watching NASCAR Number History. I'll see you next time.